You didn't choose to watch this video, and I didn't choose to be here talking to you. But somehow our paths crossed. In the digital world, they call it an algorithm. But if this happened in real life, we'd probably call it fate. Nothing is fully planned. Every little choice you've made brought you right here, to this moment. And if you're still watching, there's a reason for that. There's something in this video you need to hear, so stay. I promise, it's worth your time. Have you ever asked a Gen Z woman if she wants kids? You might expect a soft smile, maybe a dreamy someday, but instead, silence. Or worse, a cold stare. Like you've just asked her to throw her life away. There's something happening right now that nobody wants to talk about. Birth rates are crashing globally, and for the first time in modern history, it's not because people can't have children. It's because they won't. But why? Because behind that quiet no, behind the trend, the headlines, and the hashtags, there's something darker. A truth no one wants to say out loud. Imagine this. A young woman sits in her dimly lit room, midnight, phone glowing in her hand. She's scrolling, photos of smiling babies, gender reveals, picture-perfect families. But each image feels like a question mark, like a test she's already failing. She exhales, deep, hollow, and a thought creeps in. Why would I bring a child into a world like this? That thought, it's not just fear, it's a survival instinct. To have a child is to decide forever to let your heart walk around outside your body. Unknown, and how do you protect your heart in a world that feels like it's falling apart? See, this isn't about not liking kids. It's about not trusting the future. It's about carrying the weight of inherited trauma, the wounds passed down from mothers and grandmothers who were never allowed to say no. It's about breaking a cycle, or at least trying to. And yet, when a woman dares to say, "I'm not sure I want to be a mother," society still whispers, "You're selfish. You'll regret it. You're incomplete." But what if the opposite is true? What if the women who fear becoming mothers are the ones who thought about it the most? What if they are the ones choosing with intention, not reaction? And what if, just what if, the generation refusing to give birth isn't ending something, but starting something no one's seen before? Stay with me, because in the next few minutes, we're going to uncover a psychological trap, one that millions of women don't even realize they're caught in. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. But be warned, this is where the danger begins. They say Gen Z is the most anxious generation in history, but maybe they're not broken. Maybe they're awake. When you look at the world through their eyes, the collapsing climate, the instability, the constant noise, the fake smiles on curated lives, how could anyone feel safe enough to build something as fragile as a child? This isn't about being dramatic. It's about seeing clearly. You don't plant seeds in poisoned soil and expect them to grow, and still, the pressure persists. The questions come, passive-aggressive, masked in smiles. When are you thinking of starting a family? You'll change your mind. You're still young. But what if she doesn't change her mind? What if she's not still figuring it out? What if she's already made peace with her decision and just doesn't want to explain it to you? See, what most people don't understand is this. For many women, choosing not to have children isn't a rejection of motherhood. It's a desperate act of protection, not just for themselves, but for the life that would have been. Because deep down, there's a fear, a quiet, aching fear that says, what if I bring a child into this world and they suffer? And not just suffer in the usual ways, but suffer in ways that are out of my hands. Loneliness, addiction, violence, climate collapse, or even worse, emptiness. A child who grows up feeling unwanted by a world that never made space for them. How do you prepare someone for that? How do you justify creating life when life itself feels so unstable? Psychologists call this anticipatory grief. It's the feeling of mourning something before it even exists. It's the fear of creating joy, only to watch it dissolve. And this fear isn't imagined. It's baked into the modern experience. We're bombarded by dystopia, war, corruption, burnout, And under all of it, a quiet question humming in the background. What's the point of bringing new life into a world that feels like it's dying? But don't mistake this or nihilism boinu. It's something deeper, more tender. It's compassion twisted into paralysis. Some women look at the world and feel so much, so deeply, that they choose not to pass that pain forward. That's not selfish. That's sacrifice, the kind that goes unnoticed, because it leaves no legacy behind, or so people think. But maybe legacy doesn't have to be flesh and blood. Maybe it's not about passing on your DNA, but passing on your clarity, your refusal to repeat a cycle that broke you. Let's be honest. Some of us were raised by women who were never ready, mothers who loved us but resented us, who gave everything but lost themselves in the process, who never learned how to be held because they were always holding someone else. And now this generation says, the cycle ends with me. But here's where it gets even more complex. What happens when a woman makes peace with not having children, but still feels grief? Not for the baby she never had, but for the version of herself that never got to be a mother? Because even when it's your choice, even when it's right, you can still mourn the life you never lived. You can feel strong and still feel sad. And that's okay. We don't talk enough about that nuance, that duality, that quiet ache behind the confidence. We want women to be one thing, soft or strong, maternal or independent. But the truth is most of us are both, and neither, and something in between. And maybe that's the real story here. Not that Gen Z women don't want kids, but that they're finally asking deeper questions and refusing to answer with silence. They're not rejecting motherhood. They're reimagining it, reclaiming it, on their terms, in their own time. But make no mistake, the war isn't over. It's just begun. But how do you even begin to explain a decision the world has already judged? How do you carry the weight of not becoming something when everything around you says that being a mother is what makes you whole? You start to wonder, is there something wrong with me? Am I broken, selfish, empty? Or maybe, just maybe, I'm the one paying attention. I see the headlines. I feel the pressure. I hear the silence after someone says, "Oh, you'll change your mind one day." No, maybe I won't. And that's not a failure. It's a choice when you made after countless hours of thinking, crying, reading, unlearning. It's a choice made with eyes wide open. Because here's the thing no one talks about. It's easy to fall into motherhood, hard to step into it consciously, and even harder to say no to it when everyone expects your yes. This is where ancient stories begin to whisper in modern ears. In mythology, the mother archetype was never just about giving birth. She was also the protector, the destroyer, the creator of boundaries. She didn't just nurture life, she decided what deserved to live and what needed to end. That power, it's terrifying, especially in the hands of a woman who no longer seeks permission. But what if that's the real reason society pushes back so hard? Not because women are choosing less, but because they are choosing differently. We've been sold the idea that to be a whole woman, you must give life. But rarely are we told you can give life to ideas, movements, article, yourself. And that kind of creation, it's messy, it's quiet, it's powerful as hell. No baby showers, no cute onesies, just silent revolutions inside the soul. There's an image burned into my memory, a woman sitting on the floor of her apartment, surrounded by books, eyes red, not from sadness, but clarity. She's not crying over lost time. She's mourning the versions of herself that were never truly hers, the roles she was handed before she even knew her name. And in that moment, she's not just choosing not to have a child. She's choosing not to inherit a lie, not to live someone else's unlived life. This isn't rejection, it's rebirth. It's the radical act of saying, I will become what I was never shown. That kind of courage doesn't get celebrated. It doesn't come with balloons or congratulations. It's lonely, quiet, invisible, but it changes everything. Because when one woman says no, Not out of fear, but from clarity. She gives permission for 1,000 others to question the script too. And this ripple, it's already started. It's in conversations between friends, in private army journals, in their sleepless nights, in whispered prayers, in tattoos that say enough. And maybe that's what we're really seeing. Not a generation that doesn't care, but one that cares too much to lie anymore. They're not running from responsibility. They're redefining it. They're not afraid of love. They're afraid of loving something into a world that hasn't yet learned how to hold it. And so they wait, they heal, they listen, they build. Not in cribs or nurseries, but in ideas, in communities, in new ways of being. So if someone asks, why don't you want children? You can look them in the eye and say, because I'm busy giving birth to myself. And honestly, that might just be the bravest thing a woman can do. But don't think the story ends here, because there's one more twist, one final truth that even this generation hasn't fully faced. It's coming, and once you hear it, you'll never see motherhood the same way again. And now we arrive at the real question behind it all. Not why don't you want kids, but what are you choosing to give life to instead? Because here's the truth no one wants to say out loud. Motherhood isn't just a role, it's a power. And when that power is claimed without following the traditional path, without the baby, without the marriage, without the white picket fence, it scares people. Because you're not just stepping away from motherhood, you're saying it, I choose what I create. I choose what I carry. I choose who I become. And for centuries, women didn't get to say that. They were vessels, tools, expectations in a dress, told to nurture everything except themselves. But now the script is burning, and the ash is beautiful. Because from that ash rises a new kind of woman. She doesn't apologize for saying no. She doesn't perform softness to make others comfortable. She doesn't shrink herself to fit an outdated mold. She looks at the life she was told to want. And if it doesn't feel true, she sets it down, gently but firmly. That is the golden truth. You don't owe the world your body, your fertility, your conformity. What you owe is honesty. And if that honesty says this path is not for me, then walking away isn't weakness. It's strength, real strength, the kind that comes without applause, the kind you build quietly, brick by brick, in your own inner world. So no, this isn't about not wanting children. It's about wanting yourself fully before giving that self to anyone else. And maybe that's what legacy truly is, not passing on your genetics, but passing on your freedom. That's the kind of inheritance that changes generations. So if someone ever tells you you'll regret not having kids, ask them, will you regret never truly knowing yourself? This is not a war between mothers and child-free women. It's a reckoning with identity, a quiet revolution happening inside millions of hearts, a remembering that womanhood was never meant to be one thing. It was always meant to be yours. And once you realize that, once you feel that truth, not just in your mind but in your bones, you become untouchable. You become the author of a life no one else dares to write. And the world? It might not know what to do with you, but that's okay. Because the final truth, the one no one expects, is coming next. And it's going to change everything. You have made it to the other side of the story. But maybe the real story, Mom, is the one you're writing now. This isn't about turning your back on tradition. It's about walking toward yourself, with eyes open, with hands steady, with a heart that's been cracked and reforged by choice. You've said no to one life, so you can say yes to another. And that matters, because the moment you walk away from a path that everyone expected you to follow, you step into your own becoming. This is transformation, not in theory, but in practice, in breath, in silence, in tears that fall when no one's watching. You face the shame, the whispers, the doubt, and you're still here. That alone makes you unstoppable, because real power isn't loud. It doesn't scream. It just knows. And now you know. You've remembered something ancient, That your worth isn't tied to how many lives you bring into this world, but to how deeply you live your own. That your womb isn't just for bearing children, it's a source of creation, of vision, of fire. You've burned away the roles you never chose, and in the ashes found the bones of a truer self. So now you stand, not empty, but full, not lost, but free. You are the daughter of all the women who never got to choose, and the mother of every girl who will. That is your legacy. And if that doesn't make you sacred, what does? So here's your reflection, your reward, your final mirror. You are not less because you didn't give life. You are more because you really chose your own. You are the one who broke the cycle. You are the one who began something new. But even now, there's one more truth, one final secret. And it's this: choosing not to be a mother in the traditional sense might be the beginning of mothering the world in a way it's never seen before. So don't dim your light. Don't water down your voice. Don't shrink from your knowing. Because the next story, the next revolution, it begins with women like you. And this was only the first chapter.